Welcome to another Good eReader exclusive review. This is Michael.
This is Peter.
And today we're going to check out the Wexler Flex One. This is the first eReader to use LG's new flexible e-paper. Just to give you a little bit of indication on the specs, it's 6 inches and the resolution is 1024 by 768, which basically puts it on par with the iRiver Story HD in terms of the best resolution on a 6-inch e-reader. 16 shades of gray. It is running Linux for the operating system, so unfortunately no Android, no rooting, but it does have 8 gigs of internal memory, 3-hour charge time. The battery life should run you about a month to about a month and a half, and Peter here is going to show you all of the hardware and a 360 view of the Wexler Flex One.
Thanks, Mike. Not too much to it, to be honest. I'm going to show you a side profile shot first to give you an idea of how many components are actually in this thing, and you can kind of judge for yourself. You'll see that it is ridiculously thin where the screen actually is. You'll see right there. And this bulky part down here is where all the batteries, button controls, and most of the circuit boards actually lie. So let's just go from side to side. Nothing at the top. Menu/power button on the side. Don't know if you can see that if I get some glare on it. There you go. Menu/power button on the side. You have LED indicator right there. And you have a micro USB cable slot. Nothing on the other side. Pretty nice design on the back, I must say. A little bit of technical text swirls and stuff like that. They're engraved in there, so that's nice. Wexler logo on the bottom. Barcode, nothing much to it really. So you have your left, right, up, down directional buttons, OK button, and secondary button on the side here.
What's the weight feel like?
This is the lightest e-reader we've ever felt here at Good eReader. We've had pretty light ones. For example, I think the next one in the run would be, say, like, I don't know, the Pocketbook 360 was really light, the Kindle 4 is really light, but this one takes the cake. There's really nothing to this device. It's featherweight.
Wexler actually bills this as the thinnest and lightest e-reader in the world, so if portability and everything like that is your thing, this is probably what you want. You can see it bends, although it doesn't fully bend in terms of you can't just roll it up like a sheet of paper. And it's mainly because of this circuit board and everything like that. But the top half of the screen is very bendable. The one thing I don't like by default, it's almost like it's bending by default.
I've noticed that it comes pre-curved, which I don't know what they're trying to do with that, but I guess they're trying to simulate the curvature of actual paper. But I would have liked to see it flat and let the user decide how much they want to curve it based on their reading, how they want to read it.
Totally. So it's not touchscreen. You do everything with the D-pad. Let's take a tour of the interface and software and what exactly you can expect. So when you use the D-pad, you can select the settings menu. There's really not a whole lot that you would do here like on a day-to-day basis. When you connect it up to your PC via the micro USB cable, you get a prompt saying, do you want to connect it up to the PC? Would you like to cancel? That's about the extent of it. When you scroll down, you kind of get like different menu options here. By default, it comes in Russian, so this second page top option under language is probably the first thing that you want to do. This e-reader does have support for many different languages. So you can customize the menus to, Polish, Spanish, Portuguese, French, etc.
And traditional.
Yeah, whatever that means. So you can press sort of this menu here to go back. You can see we have a few things here, and these are books that are loaded on a device. One of the unfortunate aspects of the Wexler Flex One is that it's not Adobe Digital Editions compatible, which means you cannot buy books from other bookstores and load them on your device. It simply doesn't work. If you are tech savvy, you can load in your own books. It reads text, EPUB, PDF, CHM, HTML, and RTF. There's no Wi-Fi or internet capability, so you exclusively have to download books to your PC, connect them up to that slot, and load them in. So we do have a few books here that are loaded into the device. you can click on Open File Browser and see some of the books that are loaded on a device. The first one that we're going to look at is an EPUB book. And it usually takes a little bit of time for everything to load up. There you go. So these are some of the options that you have. Now, sure, the text looks good, but what about if you want to configure it to your, optimal, to be optimal for yourself? A lot of people like a little bit more control over the size of the fonts, changing the fonts, etc. So if you click this center button here, you actually have some settings here that let you augment text. So you see here that you could change the size of the font, and it does do it in real time, which is something that I like. Looking at this menu, there's a lot of similarities between this and the Kindle menu and the Barnes & Noble Nook Simple Touch menu.
I would say so. This seems to, we've seen a lot of this kind of layout because it does seem that Kindle and Barnes & Noble got it right the first time with the preview of how the text is going to look when you select it, changing real time, the margins is setting off to the side, and the lists on the bottom left. You will see this on several devices.
There's no way to actually load in your own fonts right now, unfortunately, so right now you do only have sort of a few options here. But a few options are better than no options. You can change it to say you can get previews too. You're seeing that when we're selecting fonts here, you are seeing like a preview of it. It's a little bit laggy. Wexler hasn't divulged what type of specs are underneath the hood, but it does really feel like 128 of RAM. So it is kind of paltry. Line spacing margins. If you exit out of here and then press the center button, you can also do justification, which is underneath more settings. So there really isn't much here, but you can change the indentation and a text justification. So that's about the extent of the ways that you could augment the reading experience, which I think is fairly solid. I mean, it does what a lot of other readers don't, which is give you a little bit more control over EPUB files. Now, the settings that we just showed you differ from ebook format to ebook format. So I would recommend that for the optimal ebook reading experience on a Wexler Flex One to exclusively use EPUB files. And let me kind of show you why. When we say look at a PDF file, which this does read, although I find that it's severely lackluster in terms of being able to reflow text and everything like that. So we have a Walking Dead comic here, and you can see that you're not really seeing too much. It's cutting off. It's pretty horrible. There really isn't like a lot of changing, like a lot of settings here to actually change it. So there's, unlike the Sony Pure ST1 and other e-readers like that, there's not a lot of options to really change the layout or anything like that. So you can see that it looks really good. We have sort of the full page view on, but you do have to read this really close because the text is really, really small. So you're seeing that we're zooming it in on a camera here, and it's like almost impossible to read. So if you're looking for an e-reader to do PDF files, I would probably avoid this at all costs. Although you can change the orientation by clicking the button here, and then you see you can zoom in, you can zoom out, but you can also change the orientation. There's no accelerometer, gyroscope, or anything like that, but it's software driven, much like the Amazon Kindle is. So you can see it's a little bit easier to read PDF files when you change it to portrait mode. So regrettably, it doesn't really give you a really good PDF experience. So newspapers, magazines, comic books, graphic novels, that sort of thing is lackluster. So this has been more or less an overview. We've showed you everything that has to do with the device. How do you feel about it?
There's two immediate things that really surprised me about this device. Is that one, for such a small device, the resolution is very, very good. I've noticed that it is on par with the iRiver Story HD. It has full 1024 by 768 on a 6-inch screen, which is really nice. The other part is that we went to Wexler's homepage at wexler.ru/home and checked out the Wexler Flex One, and they had listed it at 8,990 Russian dollars. Rubles, or whatever their currency is. We've converted that, and it seems to come up to $276 USD. I'm not sure if that's a misprint on their end, but that seems quite steep for what you get out of this device. We do realize it flexes. That's the whole thing of it, that it is flexible. That's the draw. But honestly, I think that's really just a gimmick. You didn't need to be able to flex this device, and because it comes pre-flexed, it's kind of an inconvenience. So I would have liked to see them come up with something that didn't flex, but have this style of resolution, and just, maybe keep it as thin as it is now, but offer maybe some Wi-Fi, maybe a gyroscope, maybe accelerometer. But for $276, at least from what I've converted their pricings from, doesn't seem like it's really worth it.
For one, it's abysmally expensive. I hate the hump on the back. Being able to just hold this, look at my hands. It's not like a flat back where I could hold this for a long period of time. I'm holding it like this. Even in portrait mode, you're often holding it like this. The PDF experience is terrible. You basically have to hold it up to your face in order to being able to actually read anything. It feels like flimsy quality. The page turn speed, once a book is loaded, is okay, but it's still navigating menus, actually opening up books is very slow. There's too little RAM, there's too little processing power, there's no Wi-Fi. For $275, you're probably best served buying 3 Nook Simple Touch e-readers for that price, or buying a myriad of other e-readers from shopereaders.com. And so, yeah, I probably rate this like a 2 out of 10. I really don't think it's very good. I mean, it's a total gimmick with the flexible e-reader, and that's just basically, it's a gimmick. LG really touted that their flexible e-reading technology is supposed to be better battery life than e-ink screens, but with only less than about a month of actual usage out of this, most other e-readers give you 3 months of standby time, or 50 to 100,000 page turn. So I think it's terrible.
I actually, now that you've mentioned this hump, I do completely agree with you. I mean, the whole gimmick of having it flex is great, but why would you only have it flex 40% of the way and have all the components completely unflexible? Wouldn't you think you'd have the whole thing a really thin unit, much like the first 60% of this, carry on through the rest so you can flex the whole thing? But even in the manual, they say don't flex this part, and they show you with a big X because you're not supposed to. So it seems that even though they have the flex element to this, that you can't even really use it.
Yeah, I would have preferred it to be totally flexible, exactly, minus the D-pad, and just make it touch screen.
There you go.
So you've heard our opinions. Let's hear your opinions. Please comment on this video and let us know what you think about this. Is it a gimmick? Does it serve better purposes? If you think so, let's share us your thoughts. So for a review of the Wexler Flex One e-reader, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
And everybody take care.